Next month in November, you can get dividends from some really amazing companies like Lowe's, Proctor and Gamble, and SBUX, as well as a dozen others, many of which are at a discount right now. But to take advantage of this, you need to act quick and buy these stocks before their ex-dividend dates, which are all coming up, and we are going to lay all of that out in this video to make sure you don't miss out on any cash flow. Starting with this first stock, we are talking about MasterCard, ticker symbol MA. Now, just in the last 30 days, guys, MasterCard has seen quite a bit of a drop. It's down over 13% just in the last month. And you're going to need to act very quick if you want to get a dividend from MasterCard in November. As you guys can see, the ex-dividend date here is October 6th, 2022, which is the day after this video is going live, which means if you want to get the dividend, you actually have to buy it today, October 5th, which is one day before the ex-dividend date. So anyway, the ex-dividend date is tomorrow on the 6th, and they are going to be paying out about a month later, November 9th. And for every share of MasterCard you own, you're getting 49 cents. Now, this stock is not a high-yielding stock by any means, guys. As you can see, the forward dividend yield is only 0.68%, but the rest of the dividend stats are looking pretty good. They have a pretty low payout ratio of 19% with a lot of room to grow, and that's exactly what they're doing. Look at this 5-year growth rate, 17.5% with 10 years of consecutive dividend growth. Now, moving on to stock number 2, guys, we are talking about Verizon, who has also seen quite a bit of a drop in the last month. They are down about 11% in the last 30 days, and their PE ratio is looking incredibly low. As you guys can see over on the right side of the screenshot, it's sitting at 7.63, so very, very cheap. Now, in terms of the dividend, this stock is also going ex-dividend tomorrow, which means you have to buy it today. They're going to be paying out on the first day of November, on November 1st, and for every share of Verizon you own, you're getting 65 cents. Now, unlike MasterCard, Verizon is a very high-yielding dividend stock, currently sitting at 6.75%, which in part is due to their compressed share price, and the payout ratio is actually looking pretty good, about 47.5% with not much of a growth rate to speak of, just over 2%, and the dividend growth history is actually looking pretty nice as well. 17 years of consecutive dividend growth. Moving on to stock number 3, we have another high yielder. We're talking about Universal Corporation, ticker symbol UVV, who is down just over 10% in the last 30 days. Now, just like the first two companies, UVV is going ex-dividend tomorrow on the 6th, and they are going to be paying out on November 7th, which actually, guys, is my brother's birthday, but he's not a shareholder, so unfortunately, he will not be receiving a birthday present from UVV this year. Now, for every share of UVV you own, you're getting 79 cents, and like I said, this is a very high-yielding stock. The forward yield is sitting at 6.73 with a payout ratio that's not here. I don't know why they don't have the payout ratio listed, but the 5-year growth rate's actually looking pretty nice. 7.8% with 30 years of consecutive dividend growth. All right, now next up, guys, stock number 4 is AT&T, who is also seeing quite a bit of a drop in the last month. They are down 13.45%, also with a very low PE ratio, 6.23. Now, as you guys can see here, the ex-dividend date has not been updated. It still says July 8th, 2022, but if they stick to the same schedule, they should be going ex-dividend on October 8th. And like Verizon, they will be paying out on November 1st. Historically, AT&T and Verizon have paid out their dividend on the same day, just kind of an interesting note. And for every share of AT&T you own, you'll be getting 28 cents. Now, this is also a very high-yielding dividend stock with a forward yield that's just above what Verizon's is, currently sitting at 7.15. And their payout ratio is pretty moderate, about 52%, and the 5-year growth rate here is negative because they did have a reduction in the dividend earlier this year, which means that they also have 0 years of dividend growth. Now, moving on to stock number 5, guys, we're talking about AbbVie, ticker symbol ABBV, and believe it or not, AbbVie is actually up over 5% in the last month. So this is the first positive company we've seen so far today. And AbbVie is going to be going ex-dividend on October 13th, which means you have to own it on the 12th to be eligible for the dividend, and they'll be paying out that dividend on November 15th, and for every share you own, you'll be getting $1.41. Now, there's a lot to love about this stock's dividend. The forward yield is sitting at 3.95 with a somewhat low payout ratio, about 42%, with a very high 5-year growth rate, 17.46%, and 8 years of consecutive dividend growth. Now, stock number 6, guys, is Abbott Laboratories, ticker symbol ABT. Abbott is going to be going ex-dividend on October 13th, and they'll be paying out about a month later on November 15th. And for every share of this company you own, you're getting 47 cents. Now, this is not a high-yielding dividend stock. They have a forward dividend yield of 1.91% and a payout ratio that is very low, 31.63%, and a very high 5-year growth rate, just above 12%. Really like to see that double-digit growth rate, and I also really like to see their 8 years of consecutive dividend growth. Stock number 7 is one that's on the pricier side. We're talking about Hormel, ticker symbol HRL. They're going ex-dividend on October 14th, and they will also be paying out on November 15th. And for every share of Hormel you own, you're getting 26 cents per share. Now, getting into the dividend stats, they have a forward yield of 2.27% with a payout ratio that's, a little bit on the higher end of what I'd like to see. I'd like to see a maximum for a company like this of about 60%, and they're just barely below that, 56%. They have a 5-year growth rate that is pretty nice though, 9.37% with 20 years of consecutive dividend growth. Now stock number 8, guys, is one of my favorites. This is a great dividend king, one that I've been buying, pretty consistently lately. We're talking about Lowe's, ticker symbol LOW. Now Lowe's has an ex-dividend date of October 18th, and they'll be paying out at the very beginning of November on the 2nd, and for every share of this dividend king that you own, you're getting $1.05. Now Lowe's is not a high yield dividend stock by any means. Their forward yield is 2.21%, but they do have a low payout ratio, 27%, with a very high 5-year growth rate. This is one of the reasons I love this company so much. 18.77% for the dividend growth rate, and they also have a very awesome dividend growth history. Like I said, they're a dividend king, and they have 58 years of consecutive dividend growth. Now stock number 9, guys, is Colgate-Palmolive, ticker symbol CL, who is down over 9% just in the last 30 days. So that's quite a big drop, but this stock is still looking pretty pricey, at least in my opinion. It's got a PE ratio of 24.11, which is still 32% higher than the sector median PE ratio. Now Colgate's going to be going ex-dividend on October 20th, and they'll be paying out in the middle of November on the 15th. And for every share of this company you own, you're getting 47 cents per share. And taking a look at the dividend stats real quick, they have a forward yield of 2.62, a pretty moderate dividend yield with a payout ratio that is on the higher end, 60.13%. But this is a consumer staples company, guys. They have a really nice dividend growth history, so I'm sure that they know what they're doing. Now moving on to stock number 10, guys, we are talking about Williams-Sonoma, ticker symbol WSM, who is down a whopping 22.5% just in the last 30 days. This is the biggest drop we've seen so far today. Anyway, Williams-Sonoma is going to be going ex-dividend on October 20th, so you still have a little bit of time before you have to buy this company to collect the dividend, and they're going to be paying out at the end of November on the 25th, and for every share of this company you own, you'll be getting 78 cents for that dividend. Now, in terms of the yield, 2.5%, so pretty moderate dividend yield with, look at these guys. Low payout ratio, love to see that. Really high 5-year growth rate, 14.41% with 15 years of consecutive dividend growth. Now moving on to stock number 11, we have just a few more stocks left, guys. We're talking about Proctor and Gamble, ticker symbol PG, who is down over 9% just in the last 30 days. And their PE ratio is also a little bit higher, 22.33, which, like I said, is high, but personally, I started buying this stock again as I am officially in the red. As you guys can see, my position right here, I'm down over 5%. Now, they have not updated the ex-dividend date or the payout date here on Seeking Alpha, but if they stick to the same schedule, they'll be going ex-dividend on October 21st, and they will be paying out their dividend on November 15th in the middle of the month. And for every share of Procter and Gamble you own, you'll be getting 91 cents per share. Now, taking a look at the dividend stats right here, they have a forward yield just under 3%, 2.84%, with a higher payout ratio, 60.63. And like we saw a few stocks ago, I think when we were talking about, I think it was Colgate, right? They had a similar payout ratio, a little bit higher, but look at this dividend growth history, guys. 65 years of consecutive growth. All right, now jumping over to stock number 12, we have 4 more left, guys. This one is going to be Clorox, ticker symbol CLX, and Clorox is going to be going ex-dividend at the very end of October on the 25th, and they'll be paying their dividend on November 10th. And for every share of Clorox you own, you'll be getting $1.18. Very nice. Now, as far as the yield goes, they're sitting at 3.5% for the forward yield, which is pretty cool, and I don't really know how accurate this payout ratio is. 113% is extremely high, and if that's actually what it is, that's not too great. But taking a look at these other 2 stats right here, guys, their 5-year growth rate's looking really nice, 7.5%, with 44 years of consecutive dividend growth. So I like what I'm seeing pretty much all across the board, except for this payout ratio. All right, guys, now stock number 13, I believe is the highest yielding stock of the day so far. We're talking about Enterprise Products Partners, ticker symbol EPD. Now, EPD's dividend dates are not updated quite yet, but if they stick to the same schedule, they'll be going ex-dividend at the end of October on the 28th, and they'll be paying out in the middle of November on the 12th. And for every share of this company you own, you're getting 48 cents. And look at this dividend yield, guys, just under 8%. That's fantastic. They have a higher payout ratio, 80.78, but this is a higher yielding dividend stock. And also they are a master limited partnership, an MLP, and MLPs do pay out a lot of their earnings to unit holders, guys. But anyway, moving on, getting into the 5-year growth rate, that's very low, 2.37%, which I guess is a trade-off with this higher dividend yield, but they do have a really nice dividend growth history. 22 years of consecutive dividend growth. All right, guys, now our second to last stock of the day is going to be Texas Instruments, ticker symbol TXN, who is going to be going ex-dividend at the end of October on the 28th, and they will be paying on November 15th. It's looking like November 15th is going to be a great day for dividends, and for every share of TXN you own, you're going to be getting $1.24. Now, taking a look at the dividend stats, there's a lot to like here, I think. The forward dividend yield is 3.13%, which is pretty respectable. Okay, their payout ratio is kind of middle of the road, about 47.5%, with a very high 5-year growth rate. This might be one of the highest we've seen all day, maybe only in second compared to Lowe's, and they have a pretty nice dividend growth history of 16 consecutive years. So I think there's a lot to like about Texas Instruments. Now moving on to stock number 15, guys, we saved the best for last. We're talking about one of my favorites. This is gonna be SBUX, ticker symbol SBUX, who is actually going ex-dividend in about a month, in November on the 9th, but they will be paying out in November still. They'll be paying out on the 25th. So you've got some cushion, you've got a little more time to build out your SBUX position and get a little bit more of a dividend before the ex-dividend date comes up. And for every share of SBUX you own, you'll be getting 53 cents. Now, taking a look at these dividend stats, they have a forward yield of about 2.5% with a payout ratio that is on the higher end, 62.22%. But their 5-year growth rate, guys, is very nice, 14.41% with 11 years of consecutive dividend growth. And with that, now that you guys know about all of the stocks to buy before their upcoming ex-dividend dates, you're gonna wanna learn about these next 4 stocks right over here, which I think are some of the best ones to buy right now in the month of October. So check them out right here, and I'll see you in the next one.